Seconder, Mayor Reardon, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so we're moving on to item 1.1. We're going to get the approval of the minutes for August 17th, 2021. Mayor Reardon, Councilor Harris, excellent. Now, item 1.2 is the selection of the vice chair for the Growth Committee. Can I get a call for nominations?
I nominate Brent.
Okay. Second, Councilor Harris, welcome as Vice Chair of the Growth Committee. Thank you, everyone.
Sorry.
Oh, vote. So sorry, we have to actually have an official vote here. So all those in favor of Brent Harris as Vice Chair? Okay. All in favor? Motion carried. So up next, we have a really exciting couple of guests here today. Mohammed Aloon and Jeff Murray are here, and Greg Cutler from the city staff is going to introduce them.
Thank you very much, Chair Kellen, and good afternoon, everybody. This afternoon for our Growing in St. John presentation, we're actually going to hear two success stories that have come together to highlight growth in our community. One success story is quite recent, while the other has a long, strong history in St. John. Our first guest, Mohammed Aloon and his family, they arrived in St. John approximately 6 years ago. Mohammed was born and lived most of his life in Damascus, Syria. So after a short time in a refugee camp in Jordan, Mohammed made the tough decision to move his family to Canada, arriving in St. John in search for a better life for his children and his family. Since arriving, Mohammed, who describes himself as a jack of all trades, he's a talented individual. He has worked hard to provide for his family while also working hard to contribute to the community. In recent years, just to give you an idea, Mohammed's been here, say, 5 or 6 years. He has grown his family, purchased a house. He built a fully functional mechanics garage that he's able to do a wide array of projects for his friends and his family. And then we're also going to talk about a very successful career he's undertaken as a heavy truck mechanic and welder at St. John Spring Works. And that brings me to the second part of our story, which is St. John Spring Works. I mentioned a long history. It's actually over 100 years now that St. John Spring Works has been at the same location, same family, owned and operated company. Among other services, if you're not aware, St. John Spring Works is a heavy truck and light duty vehicle suspension repair company. They do a lot of work. It's always a busy spot. Jeff Murray, who's going to be our second guest presenter today, has been with the company since 1997. I don't want to date him, but he was in high school at that point. And so first I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to invite Mohammed to come up. And what I'm going to do is a little different. I prepared 4 questions for Mohammed, and I'm actually going to just quickly dictate each question and kind of step back and let Mohammed answer, just to make it a little easier for everybody. And then we'll step back and Jeff will finish up for us.
Okay. Hi, everyone. First, I say good thanks for everyone.
Thank you, Mohammed. The first question I have for you, just tell us a little bit about where you're from and what life was like in Syria, please.
Okay, I'm from Syria. I'm from Damascus. Okay.
What was it like there? Was it a safe place?
No, Syria doesn't safe. That's why I moved my country.
Thank you. If you could quickly describe how you came to live in St. John.
Okay, first I moved from my country to Jordan. I stay 1 year. Then I get call to come to Canada. Then I say, okay, all right.
If you could, tell us a bit about what you like most about St. John. I know in our conversations, I'm lucky enough to call you a friend. I know you have no intentions of leaving St. John. You're raising your family here. Tell us why you made that decision, what you like most about St. John.
What I can't say anything. That's my country now, right? I love it.
I will focus too. Mohammed now has 3 children in the school system. Each are speaking 3 languages quite fluently. So again, Mohammed's going to raise his family here, and his children will be, extremely talented and well-educated people in the city. So growth is a slow, long-term process, but Mohammed is really contributing a lot to that. So I thank him for that. And the last question, I know you're very happy to work at St. John Springworks, and you've been there basically since you arrived. Can you tell us what you like most about St. John Springworks?
Okay. Springworks, this is my job. I love it. That's why I work in Springworks. Then everybody same like my brother. It's Springworks. Everybody give me help.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. What I'm going to do is now turn it over to Jeff. And Jeff might touch on this, but he made took the chance when Mohammed arrived, speaking no English, realized he was talented and really went out of his way to make sure that Mohammed has the career that is keeping him in St. John. So I am going to step aside now and turn over to Jeff to speak a little bit about St. John Springworks and what it's like to work with Mohammed.
Good afternoon. So just to start with, St. John Springworks has been around since 1919. My great-great-grandfather was the originator, I guess, of it, and it started off as a blacksmith shop and worked its way into Springs as horse-drawn and carriage kind of came about, and then progressively became what it is today, which we have about 25 employees. We have a shop in Fredericton, and Mohammed we're lucky enough to have as one of our employees, and he came to us in 2016. We had a mutual friend, and that mutual friend knew that Mohammed was looking for work, and he knew me, so he came in to see me. And you get people that come from another country, and they tell you they can do the job, but you don't actually know. But the success here was mainly we had a great person with a great work ethic, and we had a company whose policies are a bit not like some. So we're a little easier going. He came in, he started the following day, and it just took off from there. We were absolutely fortunate to be able to have him. His skill set has come a long, long way, and he's getting better all the time. His English is coming better all the time as well. You know, he took English lessons when he first arrived. He would leave, we were able to let him leave work to go to his English lessons. You know, his religion and what have you has been one that we can work with. So it's really, really worked quite nicely. And I was able to convince a lady that was helping him, allow him to continue to work rather than going for his English lessons, because we felt that with him working with the guys and closely, he was going to come along and his English was going to get better. And it was actually worked out quite successfully that way. So very, very fortunate that way. What was my next question? I'm sorry.
Just give us an idea of just what Mohammed's like around the office.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Again, he was able to come in with a good work ethic. I actually rented to him and his family for a short period of time until he was able to continue to save and he was able to purchase his own house, which, you know, I would say is almost unheard of for such a short period of time. Mohammed, you've had your house for how long now? At least 2 years, I think, right? Almost 6 years. So he bought a house shortly after. Yeah, I believe he only rented from me for about a year. So it's, you know, it was really, really good that way. So to have somebody come in, can't speak English, gets a job, you know, in a short period of time, buys his own home. His kids are thriving in our school system. He is thriving in our community. The guys that he's working with absolutely enjoy it, and he likes working with them as well. And it's been a win-win all around. As for the future, we hope to have him stay with us for a long time. I hope to replicate it. It's hard to say, like the way things are going to be for small businesses like St. John Springworks. 25 years down the road, is it going to be that easy to find somebody to work underneath an old dump truck? I'm not sure, but we certainly hope that we're going to see more of this happening, because this isn't something that people grow up to want to do. Other than that, any questions, I guess, at this point? Yeah. Any questions on how we led to this?
Mayor Reardon?
Jeff, I don't have a question, I just have a comment, but I think it's wonderful that you have a company that would take a chance on a person that you don't know, that speaks no English, you know, and take them on board, look after them, and then also accommodate their religion into your business as well. I just think that's exceptional, and you're a real leader in embracing our immigrant community.
Yeah, and I think
Mohammed's a wonderful example of what the immigrants can bring to St. John as well.
100%. It was a perfect storm of a gentleman who, again, I talk on work ethic because that's really all it really came down to, and that had the skill set, and it with a company that was open to doing it. I often say that, you know, for you know, Mohammed to go into another company around this city, I don't know how successful it would have been. There's different policies in place and all of these things. So it's so important that, you know, we get the support in small business for this, but also too, it's important for small business owners like ourselves to open up and allow this type of thing to be successful. So it's really on both sides.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're a perfect example of how it works wonderfully.
It
when
has.
both sides. Yeah,
And I'll
exactly,
do
can
it
come
again
together.
tomorrow if it happens.
Yeah. Thank you for being here today.
Absolutely.
Councilor Harris.
Thank you, Chair. Jeff, I mean, awesome. I think what we need is a city, because I have a young man from Eritrea who's on a job site right now working with me, and I'm with you, like the work ethic they bring and the gratefulness for the job that a lot of people aren't signing up for in Hordes to do. But what we need to do, the next step, and what I would hope that you will do going forward, is to encourage other business owners to take that step. Because business owners will look at that, and I've been told, well, it's a bit of a risk. What if they don't work out? But as you're saying, there's wraparound services here. There's people devoted. There's English training, and I think that's where guys like you and I can come in to encourage other business owners to do it. Because there is labor shortages, but there's also people coming here
Huge,
with that work ethic. So
Yeah, like we're, you know, I often, what's the next 25 years you're going to bring? Man, like we need the help, and we need companies to, not just the ownership really, but you also need the employees that are working there to help. We were quite fortunate. We teamed Mohammed up with one of our guys that had been working with us for quite a number of years, and it was great. Mark is a super easygoing guy, you know, wasn't getting frustrated so much with the communication level, and now they work really well together. So, you know, again, it takes a lot of moving parts there, but it can happen, and we just need the people to buy into it. That's what we really need.
100%.
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor Mackenzie.
Thank you. Jeff, thanks for coming in. I guess my question was really kind of answered. I was going to say, if I'm an employer, through your experience, what advice would you give me? What would I expect if I was going to hire somebody who needed to learn English and came from, you know, another country? Some advice to make it
Yeah,
successful.
absolutely. An open mind
Yeah.
and patience, which is two hard things to find these days. You know, those of you who are familiar with the Springworks, you know, you'll realize, you know that it's a pretty laid back, you know, nobody's, you know, it's busy, but it's also one in which it's pretty easygoing. So that's one of the main success, why this was successful. We had the patience. We were willing to take the time. We knew we had somebody with the skill set that was going to really help, and we knew he was going to be successful. So it's patience, and it's an open mind to, look, I'm going to go through some rough patches, maybe for a year, but man, if I can just stick with it, then the next 15, 20 years are going to look really great for me. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Councilor Lowe.
Anyways, Jeff, thanks for what you do out there, because you are a different breed of company. I know I've been dealing with you or the grandfathers have for about 60 years, right? And, you know, it used to be 7 days a week. If you had a problem with a truck or a plow or air conditioning, you go to St. John Ironworks. That's where I still go. Anyways, you've done great, and thanks for what you're doing with him too also.
Perfect. Thanks, Jerry.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your presentation. I mean, I just think simply supporting newcomers and what you're doing here is just so it's amazing. It's how much we can make a difference as citizens and as business owners. I mean, it's just incredible. So as you keep moving forward, keep encouraging people. I think, like Brent said, you know, spreading the word amongst ourselves to get us hiring folks that are new to St. John is just going to make their experience so much better. So thank you for contributing to that positive
Absolutely.
movement.
Thank you
so
very much.
Okay, so can I get a receive and file for that report, please? Okay, Mayor Reardon and Councilor Lowe. All right, moving on to the item we moved up. Oh, wait, sorry, excuse me. We're on to item 1.4, the St. John Affordable Housing Plan. So we're going to go to Phil Ouellette for that.
Thank you. I will present the project manager for this, Marco Horn, who will give you a short update on the affordable housing. This is, as you know, this will be a standing item until this project is completed. So even if they're short updates, we'll still give you those short updates. And off to you, Mark.
Madam Chair and members of the Growth Committee, I'm pleased to provide a brief update today on the St. John Affordable Housing Action Plan project. As the committee knows, this is a collaborative project between Community Affordable Housing Partners, Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, the government of New Brunswick, and of course the City of St. John. The goal of the action plan is to identify the actions needed in order to maintain and create safe, suitable, and affordable housing for all of St. John's residents. Since the project launched at last meeting on August the 17th, a request for proposals was issued on September the 7th. This RFP is seeking the services of qualified consultants to prepare two things: a housing needs assessment and to also support in the development of the action plan itself and its implementation program. The RFP will close on October the 1st, and we expect to have selected qualified consultants by mid-October. The next milestone will involve stakeholder engagement in late November. Planning for the engagement sessions will start as soon as we hire the consultants. Madam Chair, that concludes our brief update. I'm happy to answer any questions about the project.
Any questions from the committee? All right, I think we're good. Thank you so much for your presentation. I'll take a motion to receive and file, please. Councilor Harris, Mayor Reardon. On to the next one. All right, so up next is a development update from Ms. Amy Poffenroth.
Thank you. Does that work? I always press the wrong button.
As soon as my finger warms up.
There we go. Thank you. So for the development update this afternoon, I just want to share with everybody that the One Stop Development Shop is still continuing to support a strong development season. Typically in the fall, we see an increase in permit numbers early in the fall as property owners think about getting their projects underway before the snow flies. So that is a typical thing that occurs this time of year. And typically we also see a push in large projects to get foundations in before the winter time. So we are experiencing that right now. In September, we've seen a couple of major projects go to council for some planning approvals. Of note, the 91 King Street project got third reading last week at council for the zoning bylaw amendment to see this exciting mixed-use project get started at a key corner in our uptown area. Also, at the last week's council meeting, we saw an exciting project at 60 Technology Drive in the Milledgeville area. It received first and second reading of planning approvals to facilitate this large-scale multi-unit residential project, with third reading scheduled for this Monday, September 20th. With respect to projects under construction, we are anticipating a number of our larger multi-unit residential projects moving to completion and occupancy this fall and early in the winter. So we are working with them to prepare for occupancy, which we work with our inspection staff and our fire prevention staff to assist developers in getting their projects ready for occupancy. These projects include, just to give you some idea of which projects these are, the Calabria project on the east side, the Wentworth Street project in the south end, Telegraph Square uptown, and the project at Lower Cove Loop. So these projects are all nearing completion, and we're excited to help out and see tenants move in soon. Overall, we're still strong in the residential sector, and we are having discussions at the pre-application stage with other developers of projects at the in the residential sector as well. So more projects may come online in the coming months and year or two. And finally, just wanted to share that the infographic that we shared for the first time at the last Growth Committee meeting will be provided on a quarterly basis, so watch for that. And with that, I'm available for any questions.
Questions from the committee? Councilor McKenzie.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess it's more of a comment, Amy, than anything. It's like we get a lot of people asking, you know, where's this project and what's going on with that project, how this hasn't started. And I think a lot of this can be contributed to supply and demand in terms of materials. I know a couple of projects that reached a point where now they need gyprock to finish the inside of it, and they can't get it. It's in demand. So I think a lot of inquiries could be attributed to the fact that, you know, getting the materials or getting the workforce is a bit of a barrier. Otherwise, I think most of them are moving forward. Thank you.
Exciting times in St. John, honestly, and hopefully this all aligns with our affordable housing and development, and we're all hunky-dory. So if there's not anything else from committee, we shall move along. Can I get a receive and file? Mayor Reardon, Councilor Harris, thank you very much. All right, on to item 1.5. This is the I Choose To marketing campaign, and we're going to kick this off with Jacqueline, Commissioner Hamilton.
Good afternoon, Chair Kellen and members of the Growth Committee. The next item before you is an update on the I Chose St. John campaign. This is a key deliverable to support the city's efforts to ensure newcomers succeed and stay in St. John, which is an important initiative that we're undertaking in collaboration with our federal, provincial, and community partners. It's also a joint initiative between the city's growth and communication teams. I'm pleased to introduce Ms. Jennifer Walshutz, who is here today to deliver a presentation to give you an update on where things stand. With that, I'll turn things over to Ms. Walshutz.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Kellen and Growth Committee. I'm presenting to you today on the I Chose St. John campaign. The City of St. John launched the campaign on July 2021. This campaign was a group effort between the city's communications team and the growth team. The project showcased newcomers, oldcomers, and lifelong St. Johners displaying their choice to live in St. John. All subjects who participated in the project are citizens of St. John and work and live here. The goal of the campaign was to show that we're a welcoming and diverse community, that we're a growing population, and that we're a city with opportunity for success. I'm just going to show you some of the billboards that you may or may not have already seen as you drive around the city. This is Akusa on Manawaganish Road. On Boar's Head Road, you'll see Ralph and Judith. At Kane's Corner, you'll see Sean. And on Dever Road, you'll see the Das family. So this is Dahlia, Sam, and their little baby Prius. This is Stacy on Rosse Avenue. In addition to these billboards that you see around the city, we did Huddle Today, I should say, did stories that corresponded with each billboard, and these have been released in succession. So the last one you would have just seen over the last weekend. The stories were released weekly and shared quite highly on social media. And due to the nature of the people in the pictures and in the articles, were shared in other countries, which was wonderful. We wouldn't have been able to do it without our partners, which was the St. John Local Immigration Partnership, ACOA, and the province of New Brunswick. And we'd like to thank our photographer, Kelly Lawson, our campaign subjects, and of course, our colleagues at the communications department. We would like to recommend that you receive and file this for this report for your information. Does anyone have any questions?
All right, Councilor Harris.
Just a comment and, great work to the team on that. It looks good. I know I got a lot of feedback and traction, and I think we talked about it before as a team, but this is really those types of stories that as we work on that strategic plan for communications, we can push these out further, because I think it tells a powerful story of diversity in a historic city, which is a very interesting, value statement for us to have. So yeah, great job, and looking forward to seeing more of those and seeing them go further.
Thank you, Councilor Harris.
Deputy Mayor McKenzie.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yeah, Jennifer, this is an awesome program. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed looking at this and saying, and Kelly did a great job with these pictures. They're marvelous pictures. Great, people in them, people that are recognizable, in the community. And I too think that, we get to a certain point, we should be expanding it out beyond the St. John area, but I think it's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor McKenzie.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jennifer. That's fantastic work. It's amazing to see the addition of the old comers, as you say, like people who've been here. It's fantastic. Just, you guys are amazing. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair Kellen.
Okay. Councilor Harris, Mayor Reardon, motion to receive and file is complete. Carried, sorry. The next is item 1.6, and I'm going to be recusing myself from this item, the St. John City Market Strategic Plan, so I'm going to pass this over to Councilor Harris to take the hot seat.
All right, so we'll get our presenter up to give us an update and look at the strategic plan launch for the city market.
There we go. So through the Vice Chair to members of the committee, I'm very excited to be before you today to help launch the strategic planning exercise for the St. John City Market. The City Market is one of those spaces that embodies the rich history, culture, and character of St. John. And its ability to make any visitor feel welcome builds on the City of St. John's unique and competitive value proposition. The last known strategic plan for the market was completed over 15 years ago, which is why the 2021 corporate work plan identified this strategic planning exercise as a key priority. This presentation is a starting point for this endeavor, and there will be many more discussions, opportunities for feedback, public engagement, and analysis before a set of recommendations will be developed. This presentation will cover the key deliverables, guiding principles, governance, timelines, key roles and responsibilities, and propose 2 recommendations for the committee's consideration. The vision for this exercise is to create a 10-year plan, one which maximizes the value that the market delivers for the community. Why is it the right time to pursue such a strategy? And I want to take some time to tackle that particular question. A green paper will be developed to more thoroughly capture the context in which the city market finds itself today, but there are some important facets worth mentioning. First, many of you will know that the exterior of the city market has recently received a major upgrade of over $6 million, preserving its character and improving on the building's energy efficiency. Over the past years, there has also been a resurgence of interest in the Central Peninsula, spurring new investment, especially towards new residential offerings. This will bring with it new economic activity in the Central Peninsula and new demands on the city market. The demolition of 91 King and the plans to proceed with a 12-story commercial and residential building invites an incredible opportunity for the city market. The market has found good success in the past years with the introduction of night market, as well as booking corporate functions in the weekend as well as evenings. Many local businesses in our community faced and continue to face unprecedented financial challenges due to the public health pandemic, and attempts are needed to reinvigorate economic activity to support our local businesses. Defining the appropriate level of municipal subsidy for the city market will be an important exercise in the strategic plan as well. The city's current subsidy to support the market is over $600,000 annually after accounting for the revenue it generates. The city market also has some room for growth, as its current occupancy rate for stalls is 80%, while its occupancy rate for benches and end of cap spaces is 63%. Lastly, major investments have occurred by vendors within the market, which has also dramatically improved the interior space, including, just to name a few, that of Billy's Seafood, Uncorked Tours, Slocum and Ferris, not to mention the soon-to-be improved Java Moose. There are 6 deliverables that have been identified for this project, including, well, first the 10-year strategic plan. But one thing that is common for municipal plans more recently is that we also build that up with a 5-year action plan. So we create a kind of a broad-based vision and strategy, but we say this is our task for the next 5 years. So this 5-year plan, action plan, will be part of that. We'll also have a robust public and stakeholder engagement, which you'll hear a little bit more of in a little bit. Also have analysis of key features of the market, including a SWOT, gap, interior space, and benchmarking analysis to maximize the value that the market has in our community. This plan will also generate a resourcing plan to support the needed capital upgrades that the strategic plan identifies, and also offers visual renderings to capture the vision established by the plan. A fresh marketing strategy for the city market will also be one of the deliverables. So with that, I would like to introduce to you the project manager for this initiative, and also our manager of growth, Mr. David Dobbelstein.
Thank you, Phil. Here to change the slide. Okay, so we've put together a series of ideas before you for governance for this bold plan. And we've set up what we call some fence posts or guiding principles that will guide the decision-making, both for the steering committee, growth committee, the council. Now, these are verbatim written in the terms of reference for the new steering committee, but we view the city market as a place of passion, right? So we want this process to be intensely, and we do mean intensely, consultative. As you can see later in the presentation, there are literally dozens and dozens and dozens of interested stakeholders that will want to have their voices as part of this consultation. And so we want to make sure their voices are heard. There's a recognition that the market is a place of prosperity. It literally is the beating heartbeat of Uptown St. John, and it has been for centuries. It's also a place of business. We have dozens of vendors, many of whom have been there for dozens, if not over 100 years. We have to recognize that it is a thriving place of entrepreneurship and must remain so. It is also a place of excellence. We have terrific staff. We have customer service that we want to be second to none. It has to be a place where service delivery is paramount. It is also a place of history. It goes right back to the very founding of the city, where the ability to generate a market is incorporated right into our very charter in 1785. We actually saw the building that it currently sits in built in 1876. It survived the Great Fire the following year. It was named a National Historic Site almost 30 years ago. It is always going to remain a place of history, and that's something that we have to bear in mind. And finally, it is a place of gathering. It is a place that people are drawn to. It is one of the most visited sites in New Brunswick for visitors and for locals alike, and it will need to remain so. In terms of project management, what we have set up is we have an oversight team, and which we would like to introduce you to right now. Obviously, you've met Mr. Willett, who's the project sponsor, and myself as project manager. But we also have 2 project advisors here. Andrew McDonald, who you also know as our city market manager, has a lot of subject matter expertise on the operations of the market. And Mr. Brian Irving, if he wants to wave, is our manager of contracts, who also has a tremendous amount of corporate knowledge over the city market as well. And then we have a very broad staff support team made up of staff from every single department that we can tap into and rely on for subject matter expertise. We have a steering committee, which I'll be getting to in a moment, We envision that we'll probably need to retain some consultants through the process due to the size and scope of this. Obviously, there will be a tremendous amount of stakeholder and public engagement. We'll be coming to Growth Committee repeatedly throughout the process over the next year, and then ultimately to Common Council for approval of the plan. So in terms of the steering committee, what we see here is a public committee, similar to other committees that we've set up. So we're recommending that this committee has 2 members that are appointed by Common Council. It'll have 4 members of the public, and we'll be providing a skills matrix to the nominating committee to help them guide a decision-making on who we're looking for. But this could be people who live uptown, who don't live uptown. Maybe they have marketing expertise. They love the market or shop there. Maybe they're seniors, maybe they're students. We want a wide variety of perspectives on the committee level. We also will have 2 representatives from our growth agency. We'll have someone from staff from Envision St. John, as well as someone from Uptown St. John, just to really recognize the fact that we do want to drive growth, both for the city and at the city market. And then we'll also have the staff oversight team who will sit as active committee members, but won't have a vote per se. It's similar to the way Growth Committee operates. Staff will be there to help guide the process and recommend, but it will be the steering committee that is steering the process. And then as you can see from this list, this is quite a lengthy list of stakeholders that we envision approaching, and we anticipate the list will actually be much larger. And now this doesn't necessarily mean that will be individual interviews. We think there'll be a multifaceted approach for how we do engagement. There'll be surveys, there'll be world cafes, we'll be soliciting feedback, there'll be individual interviews, there'll be focus groups, and a wide variety of other mediums through which we can obtain feedback. And all these stakeholders will be invited to contribute. And one of those stakeholders is this Growth Committee as well. The project timeline will take approximately a year from our perspective today, but we also know that that can change, especially when we involve a steering committee who may want to steer the process in a slightly different committee or take a deeper dive into specific items. So the launch of the project is this month. And then what we plan to do immediately is go to council with your recommendation on the endorsement of the plan, but also the terms of reference for the steering committee, which then will trigger the nominating committee to populate the remaining spaces on the steering committee, which we envision will be put together by the end of October. We'll have a first kickoff meeting by then. By that point, we should also have a consultant retained for the program. And then we anticipate having very robust preliminary stakeholder engagement sessions throughout the fall and before Christmas. We think this is sort of a critical time, and we're up against the timeline of Christmas. No one's going to want to consult over the Christmas holiday, so we have a very clear fence post called the Christmas holidays. But the city market also is very bustling that time of year, so it's a perfect time also to even do spot engagement. We're asking people as they're coming in to shop daily, what do you love about the market? What do you think we should do differently? What should we leave the same? Et cetera, et cetera. In the new year, we envision a series of data analysis to help the committee make really informed decisions. So this will be a SWOT analysis. We anticipate there'll almost certainly be a gap analysis. As the committee talks about their goals and their vision for the place, we'll need to do a gap analysis to find out where we are in relation to those goals and what we might need to change or adapt to get there. We also envision an audit will be done of this space. As Director Willett mentioned, we do have a fairly good occupancy for our stall space. We have some options for further use of bench space, but we also want to make sure that we're fully maximizing the entire space of the market, both for vendors, but also for public benefit. And we'll be interested in hearing what the steering committee thinks on how the market should be used for public benefit. And so we anticipate that analysis will be done through March. And then that will lead us to the actual drafting of the plan. And this will be an iterative process where the oversight team will work with the consultant and the support team and go back and forth with the steering committee, but probably once a month we anticipate going through goals and vision, mandates, objectives. And then as we get closer to an idea of a plan, we'll also start re-engaging with stakeholders to find out, are we hitting the mark here? Is this what the community is envisioning? And all throughout, we anticipate coming back to Growth Committee probably quarterly, 3 to 4 months, we think. We'll come forward with an update, and it will be brought both by staff as well as we anticipate the chair of the steering committee. And then finally, that leads us to October of next year. We think if everything goes very smoothly, we'll be ready to come to growth committee with an endorsed plan from the steering committee, which then we will bring to you for recommendation to council, ultimately for approval. So your role as growth committee, we envision, is to provide feedback on the plan. Now, we will have separate feedback sessions with you, either at growth committee meetings or separate sidebar conversations, we'll call them. Your role, we envision, is to also keep council informed, but to also champion the project and to champion the rationale, as Mr. Willett indicated earlier on in this presentation. We want you to participate in stakeholder engagement, to celebrate, to encourage the public, to encourage our neighbors, other businesses to get out and to share their voices. And then ultimately your role is to endorse the plan or to push back if you want further changes until we get it right. So the next immediate steps, as I mentioned earlier, after today, with your recommendation to council, we'll be going to council at its next meeting. For council, we'll be adopting the steering committee terms of reference and then asking the nominating committee to appoint members. And we'll be issuing also a public call to the public when that happens. We will be issuing an RFP within the next few weeks for a consultant on this project as well, to work very closely with the staff team. We'll also then have a series of kickoff meetings, both with consultant, certain stakeholders. We've already started meeting with our vendors. They've been briefed repeatedly throughout the process, and we want to keep them very much in the loop as they live and work there every day. And then we'll have a draft public consultation, public engagement plan, which we envision will be ready sometime in mid-October to the end of October, and then ready to roll for our engagement in the fall. So the recommendation today before you is that Growth Committee endorse the project plan for the City Market Strategic Plan, and that Common Council create and populate the City Market Strategic Plan Steering Committee and adopts its terms of reference. So subject to any questions, we are here, all the members of the oversight team, to answer any questions or comments that you may have.
Thank you so much for David. Thank you, Phil, for that update. We'll just turn it over to questions or comments from anybody else on committee. See Councilor Lowe up there.
This is all about the future, and I understand that, and it looks good. I'd like to talk about the past, the last 18 months. I'm sure it was a hard time as the restaurants and other things outside the market suffered. As a landlord, which is you, did you give these tenants the same breaks that other people got from other companies throughout the city, throughout the province? Were their rent reduced to 25%?
Through you, Vice Chair, to the Councillor, what we have done is we worked on an individual basis with every vendor to find out what their needs were and worked with them accordingly. And we had some vendors who were eligible for federal programs and some who were not. And so we've taken a very progressive role in dealing with them based on the advice of council previously in terms of dealing with all our vendors. And so we've shown a lot of willingness to deal one-on-one with vendors and work with them through rent repayment. Some vendors have been in arrears, and we work very closely with them to get the vast majority out of arrears or to point them to federal programs that are available. So that's still a work in progress. There are still some vendors that would be still struggling as we are still dealing with COVID. But a lot of our vendors are they're in the black and they're operating. Obviously, they're still wanting to see a lot more tourists come back. We had the tourism sector completely fall out. And as you know, the city market is one of the most, if not the most visited site in St. John. So to not have those customers, particularly from cruise ships, did impact their bottom line. But that's something that they're all working towards now as we're seeing more visitors come back this summer.
So what you're saying to me is for the past rents, and as you say, it's still there today. We're still hurting, because of COVID. So you're working with the individual tenants to look after back rent paid over a period of time, that you're being very sympathetic to the last 18 months of these people in the market, correct?
That is correct. Every single
Thank
tenant.
you.
Sorry to interrupt you.
That's good.
Yeah, every single tenant that we're working with, we're dealing with as individuals. And we have a plan to recover arrears if there are any for everyone, and there's been different ways that happens. So, and we're going to continue that.
Thank you.
On to your worship.
Thank you. David, I'm just wondering, Director Ouellette mentioned there's a $600,000 differential annually. Is that reflective of COVID, or is it always been there? And if you were at capacity for vendors, would it still be there?
Sure. Through you, Vice Chair, to the Mayor. The cost for running the building, and that includes staffing it, heating, lights, the fact that it's a National Historic Site, is approximately $1.1 million annually, and we generate just under $500,000 annually in rent. So that's what Mr. Willett is talking to when there's a subsidy, in a sense, where the city is subsidizing the operation of the entire building to the tune of $600,000 a year. If we had maximum occupancy, it still likely wouldn't hit that $1.1 million threshold, and nor would we want to increase rents that much to do that. Otherwise, we'd have no vendors. So there's something that the steering committee needs to bear in mind. It isn't just simply a shopping center. It literally is the heartbeat of the city. It's a National Historic Site. It's the most visited site in the city. It's the first place cruise ship visitors want to get. It's part of our value proposition. We need to decide as a city, as growth committee, as council, what should that look like? What should be our responsibility as a city to ensure that we have a place that visitors and locals feel that is attractive to them, and what does that cost of doing business? But at the same time, we also want to ensure that vendors are paying their fair share and the city market is not a burden to taxpayers either. So there absolutely is a delicate balance to find, and we are going to make sure that we address that as part of the strategic plan.
I agree. I was just curious. I mean, as long as your rents are close to market rents, then I think that that's reasonable. But what I was going to ask is your team, the public engagement will look at where do they want the market to go, what do they want the market to be, et cetera. But there's also the philosophical component of it. And some of the things that I just wrote down are you an incubator for new businesses, especially, you have a building that the public is subsidizing. It's an important building, et cetera. I was looking at like locally operated businesses versus like a chain, like could Starbucks go in or not? And the other thing is tourism. Is it going to be for tourists or is it going to be for me? Like I shop there a lot in the last 35 years. I'm usually there at least twice a week. So, who is it designed for going forward? So I guess that would be some of my questions. I know I don't expect you to answer them today, but there is a philosophical component of what do we want the market to be as far as businesses, and then there's the business side of that equation as well. So,
absolutely, Your Worship. We anticipate we'll draw out a number of that feedback and those comments, and we absolutely would encourage you to share those with the steering committee, or if you're on the steering committee, to share those with the steering committee. We didn't want to pre-populate too much, for at least for today, or at least where staff thought some of the pertinent questions are. Those Mr. Willett recognized, we'll probably put somewhat of a green paper together, a list of considerations, and absolutely some of those points, in fact, all those points are absolutely considerations for the steering committee to look at, and there will be many more than that, and we want to be open to all those things for the steering committee, growth committee, and council to consider for the future of the market.
Deputy Mayor McKenzie.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I'm just wondering about variety of products and services. Is the strategic plan, are we going to have some sort of I don't know if you call it a floor plan or whatever, so that, you get more variety in there? I'm thinking now, like with 91 King going up, I think the market, this is a perfect time to have this, but I think too, to draw more people in, you have to offer more different variety of services and stuff. Is that going to be part of this?
Yeah, through your chair to the Deputy Mayor. Absolutely, that will be part of the equation. We have a project charter that staff have drafted to help us guide the process, and that is part of the scope of work, is doing an analysis of the space and the type of vendors. Now, we won't get into specific vendors through the process. We feel that would be inappropriate to talk about individual leases at the steering committee level, but we absolutely will talk about vendor mix and what do we want the market to be in the future. Right now, I think as people would know, in a sense, it's like the food court for Uptown St. John. It's a hive of activity between 11 and 2 in the afternoon, and then somewhat quiet outside those times, and then again busy on Saturdays. Are we okay with that? Are we not okay with that? What would we like to see change? And that could include what type of vendors and how many of those vendors. And absolutely 99 King going in next door with ideas of a grocery store is very timely as well. Like, who do we want to be as a market? So that absolutely will be part of the discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Just one comment from me, unless Ms. Poffenroth, you have your mic on, or you? No. Sorry, it's just a little error. One stakeholder I would I guess, raise as a potential addition would be Brunswick Square. The pedway system is crucial. I get a lot of comments about that. I don't see them listed here. I'm not sure if that's just because they're listed and I'm not seeing it, or if it just wasn't considered. But I know that Brunswick Square plays a role to play in the long-term viability of the market. It's a unique place. The market is unique within it. So just an addition, I think, would be good to reach out to that group. I know that they've struggled, and there may be some interesting resource additions that they'd be willing to put in to try to drive even some of their own spillover effect into their own situation. So anyway, but it looks great. So it looks like I need 2 motions from the committee. We need a motion to endorse the plan, and then or do we just need one?
Just if you move staff recommendations in one motion, unless there's a need to split it up,
Okay.
just do that.
So we're just looking for a motion. So moved by Councilor Lowe and seconded by Deputy Mayor McKenzie. So there we go. Thank you so much. Oh, sorry, and a vote. All in favor? Aye. Here we have it. Thanks so much, David. Thanks so much, Phil. Best of luck. And I'll go grab her chair. Yeah, there she is.
All right, so moving on to the next item. So we have item 1.7, the immigration strategy update with David Doppelstein and Valentin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What you have before you right now is an update on the city's immigration strategy. And I'd like to introduce you to Valentin Boynitsky, who is the manager of the Local Immigration Partnership. And as you may or may not know, the Local Immigration Partnership is a collective of all the different stakeholders in the region who work with immigrants and work to improve outcomes for newcomers. The city actually took on the contract for SJLIP in September of last year. So this is part of our plan to become the most welcoming community in Canada, and we're very pleased to welcome Mr. Boynitsky to give us an update on the strategy and the next steps.
Thank you, David. Madam Chair, members of the Growth Committee, thank you for giving me the opportunity to provide an update on the process of developing the immigration strategy. And sorry, this is my first time here, so I'm not quite sure how to operate a laptop. Sorry, I don't see the presentation. Apologies for this. This one here. This one. Yeah. Thanks. It should come up right here. There it is. Thank you. Yes, so as David mentioned, this project is a joint project by the City of St. John and the St. John Local Immigration Partnership. It has been work in progress for quite a while now, and just to give a brief recap of what's been done so far to get us to this point where we are now. The City of St. John has developed the population growth framework, which laid the foundations for the development of the immigration strategy. The big and comprehensive succeed and stay research was carried out jointly by the city and the St. John Local Immigration Partnership. That research in itself comprised 3 separate exercises, if you wish. So one was a structured survey of about up to 100 questions, which received a very good response rate of around 800 newcomers responded to those questions. So we have a sort of data set to analyze people's experiences of living and settling down in St. John. The second stream in that succeed and stay research was the individual in-depth interviews with different newcomers, different types of newcomers, if you wish. So some of those who came as international students, some as permanent residents, some as refugees, some who came then left, and even those who came and left and came back. So we have some glimpses, like storyboard glimpses of their experiences and what makes St. John special for them. And the third stream in that research was a more formal gap analysis done by a consultancy, gap analysis of the settlement sector in St. John. That all forms the basis on which the strategy, the immigration strategy, will be built. Another step, as David already mentioned, the City of St. John took over the contract management responsibility for the local immigration partnership. It's sponsored by the federal government and co-funded by the City of St. John. And the most recent step was the reorganization of the economic development ecosystem in the city and the region. So now we have a consolidated entity in Vision St. John looking after the economic development of the entire region, which is also important for the strategy. Where we are now, at the moment, we are choosing a consultant. There was an RFP open for over a month in summer, and we have received 4 proposals. The very latest meeting of the evaluation committee was yesterday, and we are at the very final stages of choosing a consultant. We expect the name to be known within days, basically. So after that, the work on the strategy will commence. And the next steps as we plan, the consultant will first lead a series of stakeholder engagement sessions with different groups, including the Growth Committee. There will be groups from separate departments from the City of St. John. There will be stakeholder groups from the community, and the purpose of the engagement sessions would be to share the key insights of the research that we've done so far and analysis about the newcomer experiences, about their settlement issues, their settlement priorities, to share with the local stakeholders, to validate those key research findings, as well as to elicit any suggestions or any implications for policies that need to be changed in the city or at the local level within the individual organizations within the city. So that would be the phase 1 of the strategy development process, the stakeholder engagement sessions. After that, the strategy itself will be developed by the consultant and will be presented through a series of approval and endorsement. It will come in front of the Common Council, we expect at the end of February, beginning of March 2022, after which it will hopefully be approved, rolled out and implemented. What we expect the strategy to have. First of all, we hope we plan the strategy would focus at the next 5 years. It will contain a concrete and coherent value proposition of the city for attracting and retaining newcomers. So what is it about St. John that should make people move here rather than XYZ city? And even more importantly, what is it in St. John that should make them stay here rather than pick up and go somewhere else where they would think might be better opportunities for them? As well as that, in this strategy, there will be delineation of focus areas between different players in the settlement area in the city to make sure that there are no gaps or duplication of efforts. And the usual said that any good strategy would have the objectives, targets attached to the objectives, recommended actions in action plan with lead and support entities, timeframes, evaluation, timeline, and criteria. All that will be included in the strategy. Where relevant, and this is an important part, there will be recommendations to the policy changes that need to be undertaken by the city to make this strategy successful. Coordination of the process. The day-to-day communication and coordination of the consultant will be the role of St. John Lib project manager, that's myself. There is a small project steering committee that we have put together. The committee includes 2 co-chairs of the Lib Council, that's the governance body of Lib. Those 2 co-chairs at the same time represent the City of St. John and ONB, Opportunities New Brunswick. So two members. The 3rd member of the steering committee is a representative of Envision St. John, and there will also be 2 representatives of the settlement agencies present in St. John Newcomer Center and the Y Newcomer Connections. That's the steering committee that will provide a more tactical and some strategical guidance on developing the strategy. And the consultant will be regularly checking in for a more big picture strategic guidance with the St. John Lib Council, which is the governance body for the St. John Lib in general. That's how we envision the process to happen. And that's the end of my update, and I'm happy to take any questions if there are any.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the committee? Okay, sorry, go ahead, Councilor Harris.
Yeah, thank you. Do we have any idea going in what we expect to find out at what our loss and retention is? Because from understanding correctly, this program is really aimed at increasing that retention and attraction. So what are we losing right now on that front? And maybe this is a question for Mr. Dovelstein. I see him queuing up here.
Yeah, through Madam Chair to the Councillor, I think David has the very latest figures. There was a conversation we had just a couple of days ago, so he has the figures at hand. Perhaps David could help me out.
Sure. Thank you, Councillor, for the question. That is the gold star question for what this is all about. We've heard from newcomers that St. John is incredibly attractive, and it's the same issue with our young people. If we can't keep people here, no amount of money and resources spent on attracting people will make any difference. So ultimately, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we do have the most welcoming community in the country. Historically, St. John's retention rates for immigrants has hovered around 50% after 5 years, which maybe sounds like a lot, but it actually isn't that much. It's actually one of the worst in the country for CMAs. Now, that was historically. We've started to see significant changes as we rolled out the population growth framework. We've started LIP Council, and we've been working very closely with our partners. We have a new Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, which now has retention, at least 1 year retention rates of up to 85%, which now are the highest in New Brunswick, in St. John. So we're very quickly pivoting. We still have a long way to go. And we anticipate, at least coming out of the process, that one of the outcomes will be improved retention for newcomers. So,
Great, thank you.
Excellent. Anyone else? No, thank you so much, Valentin. Yep, moved by Councilor Harris, seconded by Deputy Mayor McKenzie. Motion carried. All right, so on to the next, which is a repeat performance from our friends at the St. John Lip Council, I believe. The 1.8 Ethnoculture Small Grant Pilot Program. So we'll start off with David Dovelstein.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, we'd like to welcome our Growth Projects Officer, Jennifer Walshutz, to speak on this initiative. This initiative comes out of the Succeed and Stay program, which is, as Ms. Hamilton alluded to earlier, a tri-government program over 3 years to really support the success of immigrants and to find out how we can get them to stay. And so what we think we have before you today is a new pilot that is part of that critical piece. What we know is that when individuals often move to St. John from another country, the first place or the first people they want to go talk to are compatriots from their home countries, right, who can speak their language or have that common ancestry. And so we already have dozens of ethnoculture groups at various stages of development. And what we want to do as part of this is drive more development, because we think this will be critical to ensuring long-term retention and ensuring that St. John is an attractive place. It'll also unlock new funding and new opportunities from senior levels of government if we can get more groups established. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Walshutz to flesh out the program for you.
Thank you, Mr. Dovelstein. Good afternoon again, Chair Kellen and Growth Committee. Today before you, I'm presenting the Ethnocultural Small Grant Pilot Program. As David mentioned, we do have many ethnocultural groups in the city, 30 to be exact, and growing, which is very exciting. The reason why we are able to do this project is that the City of St. John has received, or I should say our department has received $20,000 in funding through the Succeed and Stay program to support the development of ethnocultural groups in St. John. So what we are proposing is to implement a simple grant program on a pilot basis to support the establishment or further development of the existing ethnocultural groups. Just to clarify, the definition of an ethnocultural group is a community group that is defined by shared characteristics by the members of the group, specifically by country of origin or ancestry. Examples are things like the Indo-Canadian Society in St. John. The members are from India, or their family is originally from India and have moved to St. John or had their children here. Another example that you may also recognize is the St. Andrew's Society, which is open to St. Johners that have Scottish ancestry or people from Scotland that have moved to St. John. Why this is needed. So having well-established ethnocultural groups significantly increases I'm getting tongue-tied. Having well-established ethnocultural groups will significantly increase the city's value proposition for immigrants. It will aid in the recruitment and retention of immigrants and international students. It will provide additional means for these groups to support their members who may be homesick or need additional support. It creates greater diversity in the city and allows for more cultural exchanges with current residents. We have 3 areas for the small grant program. The first is the establishment of the ethnocultural group. So when a group is getting established, they have a name search that they go through. They're getting incorporated. They're working with a committee, so they're having a bank account and signing ability. So that is the first step when we're trying to have groups be incorporated. And that is a bit of a process. It needs some guidance from us as staff. So that would be the in-kind piece that we would offer, helping to fill out those forms and guiding the group members. And there is a small fee, typically around $500, to be incorporated. The next 2 are with regard to groups that are already established or may have already been incorporated, and they wish to sort of ramp up, if you will. So the awareness piece would be somewhat of a marketing opportunity. So perhaps they want to make a logo for their group, a website, a Facebook page, awareness, which again, when someone's just moving to St. John, this is how they'll be able to connect with the group. The third is the ethnocultural exchange grant, which is the opportunity for the groups to do events. So we often have flag raisings, which is recognition for maybe an Independence Day or some special event in that country. But it would be nice as well, maybe if they could have a cake or have a celebration or invite locals to learn about their group and invite new members. We would like to draft a simple application accompanying this policy for how grants are approved and distributed. So a matrix, if you will, for us to have the applicants go through to see if they're eligible for the funding. And we would like to have our application run from October 2021 until February 2022. And again, it's a pilot basis. So we have our $20,000, so it would just go until the money is available. And we would like to return to you to the committee with a program evaluation as well. This would all not be possible without our partners, of course, so the province of New Brunswick and ECOA. Our recommendation is that Growth Committee approves the Ethnocultural Small Grant Pilot Program in principle with a budget of up to $20,000 from our Succeed and Stay program, and that the staff be directed to bring a policy statement and concept for council for approval.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions?
Questions, anyone? Seconded. I just want to say really quickly to your whole team, like the themes that are coming out of Growth Committee recently are so fantastic, and we've seen so much around development, but today's on immigration and building that up has been really significant for me to see how much our city is investing. And I think it's a great chance to call out to our community that, you know, we need to invest our time, skills, and energy as well to make sure that everyone coming here can have these wonderful daily lives. So spreading the word about these new grants as they come to light, you know, just making a difference and seeing how growing St. John involves welcoming folks. So I really appreciate that, Jennifer. And with that, I will call the vote. All those in favor? Oh, sorry. Councilor, sorry, Mayor Reardon, want to go ahead?
Yeah. I was just echo what the chair says as well. I think it is a very powerful message, the whole theme today, for immigrants, but also for our citizens that, you know, the embracing that the city is doing here. And it's a good leadership opportunity for us as well. So it's great news. Thank you.
To David?
Through your chair to the committee, just a few comments. Just this morning, LIP Council actually met and they unanimously endorsed the grant as a pilot program as well. The province actually told us specifically they're very happy with the gap that this fills. See, the problem that the province faces, they have some similar grants, but they can't just give money to individuals. They need a group to be incorporated. So we feel that especially with that first grant of helping groups become incorporated, it will all of a sudden unlock a new ability for the province, but also even for the city to engage with them with other grants and other services. So we think this is cutting edge and a real great opportunity for the city to grow.
Fantastic opportunity for the city to grow. I said this in our before that this could be a great blueprint for so many other kinds of initiatives too going forward. So congratulations to you all on creating this wonderful framework. So now we can do our part and we'll do it together and we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Aye. All right. Motion carried. Thank you. All right, so with that, thank you everyone for attending our September Growth Committee meeting. So I'll take a motion to adjourn. All right, Brent and Deputy. Thanks, everyone.